What if the internet isn't just changing how we communicate? What if it's actually changing how we relate to other human beings? In this episode, I sat down with John Kai Wallis to talk about online echo chambers, modern dating, identity, trauma, parenting, and why so many people feel disconnected from each other right now. This one gets deep fast. I think you're going to love it. Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano. John, what's going on, my friend? Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. It's awesome to be here on the other side of the world. 5 a.m. my time. What time is it your time?
For me, it's noon.
Yeah, noon. No,
but the previous day, to be clear.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. Both my sons are in bed.
On
I'm just chilling.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, it's funny because people, it was just so people know how we started talking, and I guess it'll kind of give us a little bit of context for the conversation as well. We had connected on Threads because I saw a comment that you made on someone's post, and I was like, oh, I like that. And so I just reached out to you to say so, and then we ended up talking, and I was like, you should come on the podcast. But it is cool when you're able to like just connect with people from all over the world. Like there's just, I don't know. It's funny because I didn't even know, right? When I reached out to you, it wasn't like, oh no, this guy's in Australia. I wonder what we're going to do. Like I just had no clue that you were even there. So yeah, I appreciate you connecting.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you do. And then maybe once we get into that, we can talk a little bit about the original thing that kind of brought us together.
Yeah, great question. So what I do is I help people in transition or transformation where they're at the crux of either a new life or they want to start a new life with somebody else. And what I've found, the people that work with me have done a lot of inner work. They've done the ayahuascas, they may have done some psilocybin, they may have done some RPA, they've done a lot of therapy, they've done a lot of techniques and technologies and ways to understand their patterns, but they haven't gone into repatterning what's really going on at a tectonic level. So I help people integrate what they've learned so far. So everything they've learned compounds when someone's working with me, and I help them reorientate or recalibrate their love compass and their love map to find someone that really aligns with them. And then when I'm working with their life situation, I help them align their life from the community that they're hanging out with, maybe even the postcode or the zip code that they're living in, to how they're running their health. Those are the main portions of how I work with someone. What the outcome is for them is just an aligned life or aligned love life.
Yeah, I love that. So for anyone that maybe is not familiar with that term, when you say aligned, like what does that actually mean?
Great question. It's very spiritual and woo-woo, right? So
it can be, right?
So it's bringing yourself in tune with what you're really here for, or like your individual signature, your living signal, your own individual essence. And I want to use the word aligning again. Explain aligning without using aligning.
Exactly.
Like putting all I'll use another analogy here, all the ducks in a row, straightening the line, bringing a true north. Let's use a compass analogy. It's your true north. So your compass is actually aimed north, not like east, west, or south. It's aimed the north of where you are supposed to go.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, we're just going to get right into the deep stuff. What I'm wondering is when you say, getting into alignment and what you're here for, like, are you talking about just on a practical level? Like, hey, you have strengths and weaknesses and this is what this is in alignment with you. Or are you talking about like spiritually speaking, like you have some sort of like actual spiritual purpose for coming to this earth? Like, I'm curious just when you say those words, what you mean.
Yeah, I mean spiritual because the skill, the strengths, or the weaknesses, they can be based on your personality, which is a construct of your character underneath all of that. So how you've survived your life can create strengths and weaknesses. So if you're optimizing just for those strengths and weaknesses, you might not be aligned spiritually with who you are, what you've been ordained to come in here for, right, on earth for, what your God-given task of living here is it's not going to help you find that God-given task unless you have a look at, well, what's your true north? Because you could
Mm,
orientate our true north from our family system, where your mom or your dad or your grandpa or your cousin said, wow, you're really good at playing the piano. You should play the piano for the rest of your life. So you do that,
mm,
but then realize in your 40s and 50s, like, wait a minute, I never wanted to play the piano, but I did it
mm,
because everybody in my life told me to. So that's
yeah.
what I mean when it's a spiritual, it's a mind, body, and spirit orientation to your individual true north.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I'd love to talk about how we originally got connected. So I have our messages pulled up. I wanted to read it. But so to be clear, there was a post on Instagram and I don't recall exactly what it said, but it essentially
Me
was
either.
something like, it was like this, it was a woman who was saying that she was in a happy relationship and her, I think if I remember correctly, okay, this is just off the top of my head and you could probably confirm, but I'm pretty sure what happened was she said that her friend was like, well, I'm happy that you're happy, but I'm not happy that he's happy. And I was like, what? This seems like such a crazy thing to say. And then I saw your comments underneath it. And so that's what I wanted to share right now. So I'm going to go ahead and read this because I think she was like, what, am I losing my mind here? And your response was, you're not losing your mind. A lot of Gen Z women were bathed in fourth wave feminism before they ever had a mature relationship with a decent man. They absorbed the language of men are trash, patriarchy, male fragility, emotional labor, unsafe, and bare minimum through school, social media, dating content, friend groups, and therapy speak long before they learned how to actually relate to men as individuals. So what you're seeing is not just jokes. It is socialized contempt with plausible deniability. The jab at your boyfriend is the tell. A woman who says, I'm glad you're happy, but I don't want him to be happy, is not being funny. She's revealing the ideological reflex underneath the friendship. Your happiness with a man creates friction in her worldview because if he is good, loving, decent, and genuinely part of your joy, then the cartoon collapses. He can no longer be quote unquote men as a category. He has to become a person. This was like so powerful to me because so first of all, I am not 100% sure, but I feel like cuz I'm pretty active on Threads and it feels like I can't tell if stuff that's happening on there is like actual people saying some of this stuff or not. But Threads to me feels like this really interesting manifestation of like what everyone talks about on like other platforms, like even just on Instagram or on TikTok, how like your algorithm is really tailored to you. But there's something about Threads that it feels like it's on 10. Like it literally just reinforces like it is like this when they talk about echo chamber, like it really is an echo chamber. And I'm saying this from the perspective of having like a handful of different accounts. And so I'll log into the different accounts and I'm like, oh my gosh, what I'm seeing in the feed of these accounts is so different because of the fact that I have a couple different people don't know this, but now they know. But I have a couple different accounts that like I post different types of content on and not even necessarily under my name. And then what I've seen is that like depending on the type of content that I'm posting, I get shown like so much this totally different side of Threads. But anyway, my point is I'm not sure how much of it is like actual people, how much of it is just like this reinforced kind of like what you were talking about, where it's like, oh, you just keep getting exposed to the same thing, so you think it's normal, and how much of it is just like I don't even know, like fake engagement just to like make people upset.
Mm. Yeah, I love that you have multiple accounts on there because it would give you some insight into, well, is this a real person that I'm dealing with? Is this some kind of bot? It's like, what? Why am I
Mm,
also getting all this either being shot down or reinforced by my current opinion or what I'm sharing? Because I've got
mm,
one account, but when I post something that's slightly edgy,
yeah,
for most people, I get bombarded with people telling me either that I'm wrong, all right, or that I need to pull my head in. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this. And I'm like, wait a minute,
yeah,
what is going on here? It is its own beast. I posted. Sometimes I share my threads. I take screenshots of what people are going through on threads, their dating
mm,
life or their relationship
okay,
life, and then use that on Facebook for more content. And
mm,
I make it anonymous. But what I find is on Facebook, because I've cultivated my community over so many years, they're much more interested in what I'm posting on Threads versus the raw Threads community.
Mm.
But yeah, there's something I want to say it's inorganic the way Threads works.
Yeah.
There's something it doesn't feel as tangible as some of the other platforms,
Yeah.
um, but it's very useful to see like where a lot of I think the Gen Zers are. I think a lot of Gen
Mm.
Zers on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and they're trying to work out so much stuff, especially in their dating space,
Yeah.
that the algorithm is very attuned. So when you post something, it just wants more people to comment on the thing, whether or not it's pro or for or against. It just wants people to comment
Yeah.
or be involved. So it can reinforce these bubbles of things that are happening. So if somebody doesn't have a light of truth, what I see is truth being
Mm.
shone in there, it really
Yeah.
doubles down on like someone's insecurity or what they're thinking, but then they're looking for some kind
Mm.
of correction, but they're not going to find it there. And on that post, I'm pretty sure either she blocked me at the end of the day,
Oh, really?
she's taken that post down. I don't have access to that post anymore.
Oh
So
man, I didn't realize that. I just had
there
a
was some,
screenshot.
yeah, right. So I went back to have a look at it just to say like I wanted to see how it's going,
Yeah.
and the post her main thread is gone. She's gone. So yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, it's not surprising. So I will say I've noticed that on Threads as well. There is this like culture of just instant blocking.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So here's my background when it comes to Threads and Instagram, okay? I have had Instagram since like the very beginning, right? Since when they first, started it. And I've always been the type of person to just like dive into comment sections. Like it doesn't matter what post I see. I'm always like, I'm curious what people are saying in the comments, right? I'm always like scrolling them. And Threads is basically all comments, right? Like it's just an app full of comments. And so I really love it. Like I open it and I just scroll and scroll, but I'm starting to realize that like you said, it's kind of this like it's almost as if Meta doesn't really understand if you like something or dislike it. All they know is if you engage with it, right? And they don't really, and maybe they do know. I have no idea, but it doesn't seem like they do. It seems like what they're doing is who is most likely to engage with this. And if you think about it, it could be someone that really likes it, but who's most likely to engage with a certain topic is the people who hate that topic, right?
Yeah.
Or who hate the people who like stand in that position. And that's what I see all the time on there is just like tons and tons of hate. And also this attitude of like, well, if I don't agree with you, so I'm going to block you. So it's actually not really surprising that happened because I feel like people constantly are like, block. I blocked this person, block that one, instant block. And you're like, damn, you guys are just blocking people left and
Totally.
right.
And Threads is the first platform which I actually did start blocking people on. So on Facebook, I was
Oh.
someone who was like, "Yeah, cool. Let's have a dialogue. Well, what do you really mean by that? What's the feelings underneath that?" But Threads seems to have this radicalized arm on there where you can't have a conversation with them. So if I post something that's edgy, even
Yeah.
my mind, it's not edgy at all.
Yeah.
I'm bombarded, I'm dogpiled on or hate stacked by people who have the
Yeah.
opposite opinion, and I'm not allowed to have that opinion. So, oh, wait a minute, you're actually not the kind of person that I want anywhere near my life, my
True.
family, or my
True.
business. So I'm like, cool, you're gone. And what usually happens is they hang out in clusters. So one person will screenshot my thread and then share it in their community.
Mm.
And then there's this dogpiling of like, oh, you're not allowed to have that opinion. Also,
Let's go take him down. Let's go report him. Yeah, you see that
exactly
all the time.
that, right?
All the time.
So what I started doing when I'm making a, in quotations, controversial post, I'll also approve replies as well, which annoys a lot of people too. It's like, no, I want this cultivated, because when you invite somebody into your
Mm.
space, you don't just let anybody into your house. Okay, you
Mm.
check. Are you going to take your shoes off before you come in here? Are you going to put your feet up on the tables while you're here? Because if you're going to do
Yeah.
that, I don't want you anywhere near my family, my space, my
Mm.
business that I'm cultivating. Because every channel that I use is for some arm of my business.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that
if
makes
I'm
sense.
not going to have anybody just come into my store and like throw stuff everywhere, or that's not what I'm here for. And I think those boundaries and those borders are really important, but not everybody likes boundaries and borders. Because
Mm.
I get ridiculed. Oh, you're approving your comments now. It's like, yeah, I am approving my comments now because you can't be responsible to have a dialogue with me. You
Yeah,
want
it's
to
a great point.
you want
I
to
never really thought
label
about it
me.
like that. Like
Yeah.
you said, if you have like a physical store and someone came into your store and was just like yelling and screaming and talking to other people and in the other customers and be like, this guy's terrible, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, you would totally kick that person out. It's so funny. I didn't think about that because I think it was on TikTok. I had somebody who was doing that and like going on multiple of my posts and like shit talking and then going to people who commented on my post and responding to them and saying, this guy's a piece of shit, right? You're just like, damn, dude, first of all, like you have to find a better use for your time, but also like, okay, wow, this is kind of nuts that this happens. And like, that's what I was thinking of when you were saying this. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess because I struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, how do I handle this? Right. I'm like, do I just let
Mm.
it be? Right. Do I let people see and then let them see my response to that person that it's like, okay, this person is clearly the crazy one? Or do I, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of interesting because I feel like in the past I probably wouldn't have moderated it and like taken it down or, hidden it or something. But now that you say that, it's like, that's actually a really good point because it's like, this is my page. This is my post. And if I'm putting this here, like I want the people who come to my post to have a good experience. Just like if I had a store and someone walked in the store, you're walking around screaming and telling people how you had a bad experience. Like, look, I'm sorry, but like, you got to go. So yeah, I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, my pleasure. And what I do before I do that, I check out, well, what is this person on? Like, what do they like to have a look at? Are they someone who loves to, is there a positive thread
Mm,
in their comment section on their profile? Very rarely do I ever find somebody who's like, I love this. Oh, this is great. They're not actually contributing. They're just criticizing. And that's a different kind of
interesting.
person, right?
Yeah.
And also, if their profile picture's anonymous, if they don't seem like a real person, okay, you can straight away. I'm like, the
Mm,
anonymity
yeah.
invites a different caliber of conversation,
Mm. It's like
right?
Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I mean, it's true though. I feel like Threads is becoming like that because people just
Reddit.
make these throwaway anonymous accounts, and you're like, they could just get away with saying whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting because Threads is like all anonymous, or I'm sorry, Reddit is like all anonymous, but Threads is like this mix of people who are clearly like front facing. They have their picture on everything, and they are who they say they are. And there's a ton of people who are not. It's pretty interesting. I never thought about that.
Hmm.
So the other thing I was thinking too is like what you just said about looking at the person's other posts. Sorry, before I say this, I think it is funny that most people who don't like create content probably never think about this stuff, and they don't even think about that you have to think about this stuff. But like when you are putting out content, there's so many things that like I think the average person is just completely unaware of. I've said this for a long time that I feel like content creation is like one of the most powerful forms of personal development. And it's so funny because most people who don't create content will be like, that's BS. Like, they're stupid influencers and you're like, dude, the amount of courage it takes, first of all, to post in the first place. And then second of all, like get all of the hate comments and all the people criticizing you and all this stuff. It to me, truly like content creation is this like journey of your soul that you go on as you put stuff in, and then you open up more of like what you're willing to share about yourself. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. But my point is that like what you were just saying before about like kind of looking in their posts and thinking like, is this person like normally contributing and maybe there's an opportunity for a conversation here, or is this person just like clearly just shitting on everyone's posts, like all they want to do is be negative? And because to me, I mean, if you can't tell, right, just from even having a podcast, like I am very open to other perspectives and I want to continue to be, but it's hard when you're just like you said, I can't even express anything without just like just completely getting shut down.
Yeah, totally. And in that learning how to express yourself, you're learning how to attune your life force to what you're really
Mm,
here for. If you
mm,
don't create from that inner thing, that inner motivation, that inner drive, that locus of control,
yeah.
then you're more likely to be swayed by somebody else's opinion. You're more likely to be swayed by a group think where you can
Mm,
feel a part of. But when you start expressing from who you really are, you start finding the people that, oh, this guy's got some really interesting point of views. Like I I like that. I don't, excuse me, I don't like that. But I like that thing he talks about. Man, that's really
Yeah.
cool, you know? So you don't
Yeah.
have to agree on everything. But where you
Yeah.
do have the crossover, you know, you find the people that want to come into your space. But if you don't put your voice out there or body out there or
Mm,
energy out there, you're not going to find the people that are really attuned to who you are. You'll find the
yeah.
people that are in that same space that don't want to create, because it's when you share that part of you, like it's exposure.
Oh,
You know,
for
it's like, oh,
sure.
this is how I feel. This is how I think. This is what's going on internally in me.
Yeah.
And when you do that for the first time, especially, it can be really intimidating, which is why so many people stay quiet. They don't want to be
Yeah.
cancelled or dogpiled on
Yeah.
or
It's
made
easier
wrong
to leave
or
hate comments from an anonymous account.
totally or doxed, right? Or some other
So
form
true.
of like sinister, like, oh, he's wrong, therefore he needs to be annihilated, his whole family needs to be annihilated, or his
He's
income
got to
is to
lose
be
his
destroyed.
job or,
Right?
yeah. Like I've
So
seen
that
people
kind
do
of,
that. They'll be like, they'll go scroll through person's stuff and be like, "Oh, is you work at this place?" You're like, "Damn, dude."
yeah, totally. So there's that sinister um, field of view, that how I see that. It's a test to really attune to what you're here for, because
Mm,
there's going to be people that are not going to like what you're going to say,
yeah.
because it challenges their worldview, it challenges their identity, it challenges their personality and the underlying structure, which is
Yeah.
why I attract a very particular type of clientele who's open to a lot of things. They can be with the humanity of people, but then
Mm,
also, no, this is where I stand. This is the hill that I would die on. Okay, these are my boundaries. This is where I'm unsure about things, and I'm willing to have a conversation, or just unwilling to look at it right now. But I look. Not that I encourage it, but yeah, cool. That's how you feel about that. Great,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Um, it's so funny that I had a question and I lost it. Um, when it comes to me, no, I lost it. It's okay. So what, if you wouldn't mind, what I would kind of want to do, like there were so many things about this comment that you left that I really liked, that I kind of wanted to like just kind of pull apart and try to
Yeah,
understand, because I didn't even understand the whole thing. Um, but yeah, so do you mind if I do that? If I just pull this
please.
apart a little
Yeah,
bit?
please
Okay.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Um, Man, I sorry, my head is like, man, I had a question about what he was just saying, and I don't want to lose it. Oh, okay. I remember it. It's easy to say this whole thing about like, oh, we have this reason to be here and blah blah blah, when you're talking about someone that is very right, like talking to someone like you and I, right? Like we're having like a very positive conversation, we're having a good interaction back and forth. Do you believe that also applies to those people? Like someone who goes and is like leaving a hate comment, or someone who's going and like doxing people?
That's a great question. I think they do. I have a space for everybody, that everybody's capable of greatness.
Yeah.
Greatness is the default, and then what happens is
Mm,
either your family system or your schooling system or the soil that you were raised in orientates you to the trajectory of where you are going.
mm,
So for people who haven't been nurtured in their family system, like my family, lots of creatives, musical creatives, okay, artistic creatives. So that creation energy has been in my family system, and also raised Christian,
okay.
and multiple spiritualities. Like my dad loved Hinduism and Buddhism and a whole bunch of other
Mm,
things. So I already had a philosophical, existential view of life. Um,
yeah.
so less science, less binary of like atheism, less more of an awe at life. And I think when
Oh,
you're raised in an energy of awe of life,
mm,
it does something to how you see people and humanity.
yeah. For sure, for sure. No, and I part of the reason I asked that question is because I feel very similarly, where I believe that people are good, and I've said it so much on this podcast, and so I think sometimes when I talk about stuff like this, it can be like, well, I thought you said people are good, and I do believe that. I like what you said, is that the default is greatness. Like that's how I feel, right? Where it's like I think the default nature of human beings is good. I don't think that that means that they always do good things or always do things I agree with, or even never do bad things, like, or evil things, right? That is 100% true that those things happen. But I do believe that at the core of every human being is good.
Mm.
And so when stuff like that happens, that's why I always like to ask people, like, I'm curious what their thoughts are on it as well. And so I appreciate you answering. And I'm glad I thought of it again because it was an important question. Hey, it's Giuliano. I'm just popping in here to say how much I appreciate you being here listening and that I hope you're enjoying the show. The more support that the show gets, the more episodes can be produced. If you can only support by sharing it with others or leaving a review, I appreciate that so much. But if you're the type of person who would like to support the show directly, you can do so by visiting howtobeaperson.co and click support the show, or just click the link in the show notes. Every bit of support means the world to me, and no matter how you choose to support the show, I appreciate you being here listening. I love what I do, and it's because of people like you who listen to the show that I get to keep doing it. Thanks again so much for being here. All right, back to the episode. Okay, let's dive into the comment a little bit, because there were a couple of things I didn't understand, and I also wanted to just talk about a little bit. Fourth wave feminism. I don't know what that is.
Thank you. And thank you for asking that question, because I assume that so many people understand what that is.
Sure.
So in the ways, so we had first wave feminism, which is when feminism came onto the map, where women wanted to not suffer anymore at the hands of men being ignorant and abusive. And then what happened is that movement started to evolve. Then we had second wave and third wave and fourth wave. And what happened was there wasn't a checks and balances. Whenever these movements can start, there's not really a checks and balances, and or is this going to end? What have we achieved the outcome?
Interesting.
So what's happened is the goalposts kept moving. So now we have this fourth wave feminism where it's very anti-men, anti-patriarchy, anti-borders, anti-controls, anti-accountability, anti-reality checking, where we've just not allowed the reality checking of, well, what's really going on in your feelings, or what's really, can you not see that borders are important or restrictions are important, or as a man that there's men as a collective and there's man as an individual. So when you don't tease apart the nuance, then you'll find that you start to dehumanize people. Once you start to dehumanize people, which is what I see fourth wave feminism has done, it's very quick to dehumanize you. Like for on the thread stuff, it's like, oh, you're a man, therefore you don't have opinions. So, well, wait a minute, hey, come on, like, right? Now I've come from a history of where my opinion has been important, not only in corporate, but in my family structure, in my home life. Like, people come to me for opinions, so just call me a man and just write me off because I'm born a man. It's like, well, that's inhumane. That's not greatness. That's something else. So fourth wave feminism is it's an extreme iteration of a movement that initially started to give women some more platform, which I think was correct. Like, we needed that. Like, if you look at the 1800s,
that was going to be my next question. Was like, what is your opinion of feminism in general?
Exactly.
Like,
so in all movements that start, I think initially there's some wholesome. That's where the greatness, I think, initially starts. There's greatness there. There's room for reflection. Be like, hey, we've been doing this for years, but why? Like, what is the meaning of this? Like, women help. So what's the issue here? And then the goalposts start to move, because it gives people a sense of purpose. But they're not checking, well, where's that purpose coming from? Is it coming from your hurt and your pain and things where you feel incomplete or entitled? Or is it coming from this whole an internal wholeness where you feel, no, that's good now. I can leave that movement. We're done. Like, I think I've achieved what I've set out to achieve, and now I'm going to focus on something else.
God, that's so interesting. Okay, so I grew up very religious, and now I would say I'm not, but I would definitely say I would not say that I'm atheist in the classical sense of it. Like, I don't necessarily believe that there is like the God of like the Bible that's normally taught. But I do believe that there's more than meets the eye to reality, but I don't know what it is, right? So that's kind of like where I'm at. But what I found is that it's funny, because this is something that was talked about when I was being raised that way, was that humans have this like spiritual need, right? They have this need. There's like, you can't deny it. And even though I didn't like the way that it was put when I was raised that way, I do believe that there is a part of us that wants to always be part of something that's bigger than us. And what I've noticed is that because people tend to lean away from religion nowadays, just like myself, I think they tend to find purpose in things that are outside of them, that they feel like they can be part of this bigger thing. And that tends to be politics and political movements. And I don't know if you would agree that, I guess I would, like, I did not grow up very political, so I don't really know, but like feminism falls under that category, right? Of like a political movement, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
and so
it's a
that's kind of
political
like, to
movement.
me, I see it, I go, oh, that's interesting, because, and I'm not saying that this is 100% the case, just like we're saying there's a difference between men as a collective and individual men. I feel like the people who are like super feminist are also people who are very much not religious. And I think that is so common because of the fact that, okay, well, I'm not saying that religion is the answer, but I'm saying that religion does give a lot of people that opportunity to feel like they're a part of something bigger than they are, or bigger than them. And if you don't have that, then you're seeking for it somewhere else. And sometimes that's what happens with these political movements. I see people, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I want to be clear about here. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a part of something bigger than you. I think we all need it. But the problem is making it your religion, right? It's almost like, hey, I'm not in a religion anymore, and now I want to be part of something bigger than me. But not, then you make it your religion. You're like, well, now it's a problem, right? I thought you were leaning away from religion. Now you're making this thing a religion, you know?
Yeah, totally. And when it becomes a religion, it becomes unquestionable. It becomes the
Mm,
doctrine, right?
yes,
And
yes.
and for me, like, yeah, being raised, I wouldn't call myself a Christian, but I do believe that there is something that's much bigger, and the much bigger isn't some sky daddy figure who's like
Mm.
watching me play with myself, or watching me have sex, or like
Yeah,
waiting
exactly.
for me to break one of the Ten
Pervert.
Commandments. Yeah, exactly, pervert. How dare you have those feelings? Because the religion has demonized the body. So
Mm.
when you try and separate the body from spirit, you're already running against humanity, because you
Mm.
do have carnal. Your body is going to tell you things. Your body has wants and needs, like hunger, and while fasting can help you orientate, well, how am I actually hungry, or am I just bored? Am I actually
Mm.
hungry, or do I just feel like when I'm nervous, I just like having the light in the fridge comfort me, right? So there's a
Mm.
number of things that your body will just do, and you need to tune it. You need to attune to: is this me, or is this how I've survived my life? But I
Mm.
love that analogy there between feminism and religion, because there can be lots of structures that humans have created that can replace what religion did,
Mm.
right? That sense of purpose, or that sense of hierarchy of needs, or who you should be respectful for and who should not be respectful for, and how you should pray, or how you should talk to what's in the invisible worlds. There's lots of things
Yeah.
that have done that. And I think it gives people a sense of safety. Like, I don't know if you're seeing this, I know in my bubble, a lot of people converting to Christianity.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
All
am.
right. And then for me, like, coming from that Christian background, what do you see in that? Because I was raised in that, and I don't
Yeah.
know
This
what
is why I've
you
had
can
to
see.
think about this so much, is because I have seen people, like people that I knew that were not religious, then all of a sudden become, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Right?
That's why I've had this thought process. I go, oh, I see. We all have these needs, and that's part of what this offers. This is part of the reason why it's existed up until this point, is because it
Totally.
fulfills certain needs. You know?
Totally. Absolutely. And when you mentioned before that there is a hole, there can be a hole inside every individual that wants
Mm.
to fill it with something that's bigger than they are. I think that's a key component of humanity. And because we all experience this, it's a collective thing, right? Where it's not just an individual thing. We all want to feel a part of something that's big, which is community. It's a family, an extended family beyond our localized family, because a lot of people didn't grow up in a healthy family system. They didn't grow up in a nurturing
Mm.
space where, the child could become individuated. The parents weren't
Mm.
on therapy speak, or whatever it is, or Carl Jung or Jordan Peterson, whoever your favorite
Yeah.
psychologist or psychotherapist or psychoanalyst is, right? Telling
Yeah.
you, like, whatever you suppress as adults, it'll come through in your children, or the worst thing you can give your children is an unexpressed life, or all these things where parents didn't have tools to orientate themselves to this kind of long-term wisdom. But now we do. So we can see we can start raising children in a different way of, well, what do you really want as a child? And have the boundaries and know that you're probably going to traumatize your kid too. And then that's their journey to have a look at as well. Right.
Oh
It's like,
man. So we have he's almost a year old now. And it's our first kid. And it's so funny because you have all of these ideas and these plans and these, everything you're going to do and the things you're not going to do. And then you get into it and you're like, oh, this is way different than I thought it was going to be. And it's so funny because I feel like my wife and I are probably like one of the like happiest couples I've ever seen. Right. Like, and I know, cause I'm in the marriage, like we have a great marriage. We have a great relationship. I feel like I'm one of the most like emotionally regulated people I know. Like it's just right. I just feel like we have a great life. And then there's still times where I'm like, yeah, we traumatized him for sure. You know what I mean? And I go like, man, it makes me think is there no escaping that? Like, is that just part of this process that we just have to come to accept? And I'm not saying like we did something violent or anything like that. What I just mean is that like, you can tell, you look at him, you're like, he is traumatized right now. And like, you can do the best that you can. And he's just like, you're like, this dude, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could do everything within your power to do the right thing at being a parent. And this kid is just, it doesn't matter. He's traumatized. Like he's been traumatized. And you go, oh, I wonder if that's just part of what's going to happen no matter what. Like you're always going to do your best. And it's just not going to be enough when it comes to your kids.
Totally. Like I've got a pocketbook called Present-Based Parenting that I give my clients when they start to work with me. And what I've spoken about is that all you can focus on is just being as present as you can be. Mm-hmm. Right? If you want to titrate your parenting style with some of the advice out there, go for it. Like have the experiment. But just know if you're aiming for perfection or if you're trying to not do the things that your parents did, it'll hold you over a barrel of perfection. And then you spend more time trying to be perfect instead of trying to be present with your child. Yeah. So when you can just let yourself off the hook and know if you just be yourself, you're modeling for your child how to be themselves. Yeah. And that there will be trauma that will come up. You might yell at them like they go to cross the road, okay? And you scream at them, don't cross the road. You can say, what's a road? What are you talking about, right? Yeah, exactly. So yes, sure. Like you've asserted some kind of authority into their space and they're going to be a little bit shaky over it. Yes, you're going to traumatize them. And then it's part of their journey when they reach that level of maturity to go through it. What I do with my child, when I reflect on the day or the week or the month or the year, there might be specific events where I'm like, you know what, I think I could have handled that a bit better. And I actually go back to I've got a 2-year-old son and a about to be 1-year-old son. Okay. So for my eldest, right? Same, we kind of get each other. There's my slightly older son. I'll go, hey. His name's Luca. I said, Luca, do you remember that time when I yelled at you about doing this thing? Like, how'd that make you feel? Right? And he might not say anything, but sometimes he remembers the specific events. And I said, that would have made me really sad. Or did that make you really sad? He said, he might start to cry or grieve that whatever was there. That's a repair process taking place. Wow. So him feeling that gives that trauma much less of a control over how he experiences life, right? Even if it's a conversation, even if it's so innocent, but you're helping him like just move it through his body. So it's not something that he needs to forge his character around or his personality around. That's what I've experienced is as a father raising children and focusing on presence instead of technique, because there's lots of parenting techniques out there, lots, right? And what I found is just be myself. Like just know that, cool, I'm going to say some things that are going to anger him and annoy him, and he's going to like tantrum and throw things. Like that's him learning how to be in his body. Okay, you just come with a manual, right? Yeah. Or any regulation techniques. So cool, just be yourself.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that makes so much sense. And Yeah, I liked what you said just about being present. Like that's the best that you can do. But I think what was really interesting what you were saying about just like talking to your son about like, hey, this thing happened and letting him feel the feelings because actually one of my most recent episodes was about that specifically, not with children, but just in general as a person, feeling your feelings. And I think that's like a really good way to be able to like give them that opportunity to do so if they haven't already, instead of them holding on to it. As well as I wonder like where this shift is for people. And I'm assuming other people have the same experience as me. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But I feel like it's only semi recently that I kind of view him as a person, right? Like when he was born, it was like he's a baby and you kind of just don't care. You know what I mean? Like if you're upset, you're like, oh my God, stop, dude, stop. Right. Whereas like I would never speak like that to my wife. Right. Cause like she's a person and I would never speak to another person like that. And again, maybe other people are like, wow, he's an asshole. And maybe I am. I don't know. But my point is that like I look at it and I go, oh, I wonder, like, because more recently you can see that he is like, he understands like what I'm saying to him, right? When I'm talking to him and like he'll react in a certain way or he'll whatever. My point is that you can see that he's in there and you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't react that way anymore because like that's a person. You know what I mean? Like he like even if he might not fully understand exactly what I'm saying, like I'm talking to another person right now, and even though I might be upset or might be whatever, like I have to shift that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of what you just said, where like you would go back to something that happened before. I think most people whatever, that's an assumption, but in my viewpoint and what I've seen from people is that like they have that same perspective that I have, where or at least had up until this point, where it's like, oh, they're not really in there, like it's just like a little kid, like they're not an adult, they're not a person that like you have to respect or that you have to treat a certain way. It's like they're just like something you have to deal with, and of course you love them, right? I'm not saying it's not that, but you get what I mean, where like I think a lot of people don't realize, hey, like you can also just talk to your kid about something that a conversation you had before, about a way that you treated them, and let them know that, hey, I shouldn't have done that. Like I was really upset in the moment. I'm sure you probably didn't feel good. Right. And like, yeah, it didn't feel good. Like you can have those conversations with your kids.
Yeah, totally. It opens up permission for them to exist. Because when you're
Mm,
telling them no, when you're telling them don't do a thing, you're also instructing their living signal, like their essence, their creativity that wants to come through. Like their creativity might look like smashing some plates, might look like
mm,
hitting something metal against a window to see. Oh, I love that noise. Like I'm actually creating that noise right now, or
yeah.
throwing food on the floor. It's like the splat sound, or the texture in their fingers. Like I'm actually making that noise of that splat on the ground. Cool. There's a being here. There's actually something else here. I'm not this
Yeah.
automaton that just needs to cry, food, feed, and poo. Right? There's something that's in
Yeah.
here. There's a being in there, and that personality is being forged through being reflected back from the parental system or the grandparental system or the community at
Mm,
large. So it's not just the words that you use; it's the how the words are coming through you. Because there's some words that I use with my
mm,
son that were like maybe like grade 3 or grade 4 level language, but he kind of gets the gist of it because of
yeah.
how I'm saying it,
Yeah.
right? So we get obsessed over the nuance of what the words I'm using, but it's more the energy and the presence and the open heartedness and the curiosity and the space for you to exist that actually allows him to feel the feelings, not necessarily the blow by blow syntax of the arrangement of the words that I'm using. It's more like, hey, like
Mm,
son, I'm really sorry that that happened. Like, I don't want to be that kind of father for you. How would you, what do you feel around that? Like, what was there for you around that? What did you really want to do? I said, yeah, I feel the feeling. So, and in your, what you were speaking to before, but there's a person in there, like the stages
yeah.
of development, because when they're first born, they effectively don't know themselves from their mother. Okay, it's just like
Yeah.
I am one with mum. But
Yeah.
then as they start to grow, as they start to realize that I'm no longer in the womb anymore, there's actually I've got hands. I can my eyes can focus now. What's
Yeah.
going on
I've
here?
caught him like
They
doing this.
yeah,
Look at
right.
his hands.
So they're individuating. They're becoming
Yeah.
more of who they really are. And then when they start to hit those twos, they call it terrible twos. I don't. I call it terrific twos because
Mm,
the willpower is coming through. The identity is being born, and beyond stuff that's come from my family system. Like he'll just say stuff like, "Where did he get that from?" Like, that's That's something I would say. Cassie, my wife, that's something you would say. No. So I don't know where he gets some
So
of his
funny.
information, but it's him.
Yeah.
It's his own unique, creative, living signal, his own individuation, which I think needs to be nurtured. And
Mm,
in doubling back to the trauma pieces, the more that you nurture your child to be who they really are, they become much more resilient or anti-fragile to people coming in there
mm,
and attacking their identity because they
yeah.
know, like, I'm who I am. Like when somebody looks at my son play, it's like, oh my god, he's so confident. Like this guy does his own thing, he just enjoys himself. So yeah, he does, and he can also throw tantrums, and I need to like hold him. But and I'll take both. But he has his own thing. Like he has his own
Yeah.
quirks, his own ways of doing things, his own foods that he likes. You know, his
Mm,
whole. So, but when you honor that and nurture that, you're already laying the foundation for a healthy adult, and you've got 7 years to do that. 7 years to nurture that child
mm,
into a state where their internal foundation is they're well built, like they're secure internally with themselves because the
yeah.
parents themselves are secure because the parent doesn't need to make the child a certain way, like mold them into Christianity or mold them
Yeah.
into feminism or mold them into something else, right? So no, you're just you. Like outside, I'm preparing you to leave our family system at some point, but also know that we're still here
Yeah.
with our own quirks under our own roof. But and I want you to respect our boundaries, and I want you to grow into the whoever you want to grow into being.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. Before our son was born, that's I might still feel the same way, but I was saying this before our son was born that I was like, it's not my job to make him into anything. It's my job to support him in being whoever he is. So I definitely resonate with what you're saying. Um, if you don't have life insurance or you've been meaning to update your coverage, this is your reminder. I have my own policy because I want my wife and son to be taken care of no matter what. And if you're responsible for anyone, it's one of the smartest things you can do. Go to life.howtobeaperson.co or tap the link in the show notes to get covered. All you have to do is fill out the short form, and a trusted agent will reach out and help you figure out your options. All right, back to the episode. I forgot. I'm like, we totally went on this long thing. I forgot about the comment. So let me go back to this. Let's talk a little bit more about some of this stuff. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, when you were listing off like quotes of like the absorbing this language of this fourth wave feminism. One of them being unsafe, like the quote unsafe, and I've seen that so much where someone will say that like men are not safe people, and I'm like, what? This seems kind of crazy. Like I think my part of my perspective on this is that if we were saying this about any other factor of a person that is outside of their control, it would be straight up prejudice. And yet somehow when we're talking about men, it's totally okay. Like it's totally okay. If we were saying this about women, if you were saying this about black people, if you were saying this about Asian people or white people, right? It doesn't matter. If you were just saying anything like that, it would be like, this is prejudice. And you're like, for some reason, when we're talking about men, you could just say whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that to come back to the unsafe that, and I think I'll draw down on some Jordan Peterson stuff and what I've
Okay.
learned from my own experience is that we're not safe. Nobody is actually safe. Okay,
Mm,
so at some point there's a carnal override where if someone's pushed into a corner, mostly they're going to erupt. They're going to get angry. They're going to lash out.
yeah.
So for me and the work that I take people through and the work that I've gone through, I was mentored through, was learning how to access what Carl Jung calls the monster. And Jordan Peterson talks about the monster, okay, inside of you.
Interesting.
And that monster it's carnal, it's primal. It doesn't have the foresight of the forward brain of being able to go, should I get really angry right now or not? No, it just takes over, right? So what happens is when you don't know how to access that primal monster, you are very unsafe because you don't know what you're capable of,
Mm,
right? And if you're doing a lot of talking therapy, if you're not doing something that moves your body and accesses the primality of who you are, you might think that you are safe, but put in an environment where your identity starts to collapse, your support structures start to fall away, you can snap, right? which is why we can see a lot of men who take out their families or go on shooting
Mm,
sprees or whatever it is, because they don't understand that there is something that's so primal and so survival in there that you lose all conscious thought of being able to be with that. You lose the witness. There's no witness anymore. The body's just taken over,
mm,
right? So when we talk about men being unsafe, yes, we are capable of that violence, but also as a default, I don't think a lot of men know that what actually lives under the surface of the skin. So when
mm,
feminism and people talk about men are unsafe, we are and we are not, okay? Because everybody has this arc of primality in them, like we see with mothers with infanticide and that kind of stuff, where the mother can feel like she's going to lose her kids or she can't cope with the stress of kids anymore. So she takes out the whole family system.
mm,
It is in all of us. It's not unique to men. We all have it in different degrees. It's just if you're not talking about it, if you're not exercising that part of you, then it's going to be sitting in the unconscious, just waiting to bubble up at some moment in time.
mm,
And when you're also unaware of it, it makes you very easy to control because you just know the right levers and buttons to push
mm.
to use that energy for your own devices, which is what I see fourth wave feminism has done. It's radicalized a lot of children who can see light patterns in their family system or what they see on the news or see in
Ah,
their feed. Because they haven't reality checked themselves, they don't, because no one's usually, okay, this is the other thing. Men, as a biological entity, are very good at reality checking. They'll look at facts. Okay, they'll go to numbers. Well, is this really a problem right now? Well, let's have a look at the numbers straight away. And
oh,
I see
yeah.
that as a general rule, not as a women can't do that,
Sure.
but as a
Sure. Yeah.
generalization. Men are very good at much more logical, engineering, strategic, long-term thinking. So if you're not used to reality checking, then someone coming in to reality check you feels unsafe.
Mm,
It feels unsafe because you can't tease apart your reality from what you've been ingesting for decades. You just assume that, oh, that person's unsafe, I can't be around them, or I need to dogpile on them to get them to change their view that men are unsafe. Because I
mm,
come from an unsafe angle. I come from men can be unsafe from a different angle, from a body psychotherapy angle, not
mm.
as a general populist angle,
Yeah.
right? Because a man who's also unsafe, who's a father, can use his domination and aggression on his child, which makes a child afraid to be himself,
Mm,
right? So that unsafe thing it's much more nuanced than just assuming that, oh, because of these statistics, men are therefore unsafe. It's like, well, no, that's there's more to it than just labeling us as a subset of the species, as one half of the species, as unsafe. But as soon as you do that, you disqualify any kind of human to human conversation around, well,
mm.
like what do you mean I'm unsafe? like
Yeah.
like I've worked with women in very intimate spaces. I've worked with men in very intimate spaces. I've worked with children. I've worked with people with disabilities in very intimate spaces. I know where the limits of my unsafety come, but that's usually to protect my family or to protect myself. I am going to be
Mm,
unsafe if you're
yeah.
going to come into my space.
Yeah.
But the carte blanche, everything needs to be open and welcome and no borders and just come into my life. That's another form of delusion
Mm,
because we need to have boundaries. Even our own body has boundaries. We have skin for a reason,
yeah.
right? It's like the metaphor is the analogy is not lost on me. The lunacy is not lost on me. But when you're unaware of the body, when you don't want to be connected to something that's much larger than you are, when you're willing to subscribe to structures and religion in other forms, you lose your connection to yourself, and therefore you lose your connection to your fellow man or woman.
Mm.
So I can't remember where that came from within the comment that you read out before,
Oh,
but
it's okay. No, no, it was. I
yeah,
really appreciate you sharing that. I think that there's a lot about it. So first of all, part of what I was thinking of when you were saying this was what we were talking about earlier. Remember when I was like, so do those people also have a purpose and like a reason for being here? And you're like, yes, of course. Like I might not be able to see it right now. Maybe they're not even aware that they have that, but it's there. I was brought back to that part of our conversation because I'm thinking, yeah, everyone is a person, right? Like whenever there is an issue, it comes down to this thing that we've taken away someone's humanity, right? Like we don't view them as a person anymore. And that's the problem, right? Because there's no human being, there's no person. I mean, there's nobody that anybody on this planet can go and go, oh, they're an evil person and they've always been evil, right? You take that person far back enough, at some point they were an innocent, helpless little baby, right?
100%,
and, and that
100%.
and, and
Yeah.
that's my point, is you go like, if you remember that, if you always remember that, there's nobody that you get to go and be like, they're evil, they're bad, and you're like,
Mm.
okay, yes, they have done evil and bad things, right? But like, how are you about to tell me that's a bad person? Like, let's go back, let's just rewind a little bit further. Right? That
Mm.
person is not evil, that person was a helpless, innocent little baby at some point.
Totally. Yeah,
And
the genesis was innocence. Totally.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And again, that doesn't excuse any bad behavior. I'm saying like at our core, the essence of a person. And when someone is taking an entire swath of the population, whether it's men or it's a certain race or gender or anything, right? You are essentially taking away the humanity of each of those people by saying you are all like this. It's like, whoa. That is not true. And also, I think a good point about this is that, there's people who will point out, they'll be like, oh, like if you look at the percentage of, people who are convicted of crimes, black people make up a big percentage. And then you're like, okay, but like they'll make the argument that it's like, well, hey, actually, to be clear, there's evidence that supports that they're just way more targeted and they're way more likely to be arrested and more likely to be convicted, not necessarily that they're doing more, right? And so my point is that like that conversation is not happening when it comes to men, right? Like when the conversation's happening about a race or anything else like that, it goes, oh, okay, well, but let's look at it from the systemic point and look at it like this. But when it comes to men, it's like, oh, those are statistics, this is what men do. And you're like, okay, so we're just going to assume like all men are just born to be this way? Or is it possible that there are systemic things that push men in that direction? And again, this is not to make an excuse, because there's certain things that are terrible and quite frankly unforgivable that men have done. But to act like as if it's just like, oh, well, that's just inherent because they were just born a man. You're like, well, come on, what are we doing here? Like, again, any other category, and this would be very prejudiced, to be coming out of someone's mouth.
Totally. And what I found is, if you grew up in a family system that was unsafe, the survival pattern that wants to reconcile that unsafety is looking for reasons.
Mm.
So if someone's feeling unsafe in their 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, their environment is going to mirror back to them reasons about why they feel unsafe, whether it's, it's capitalism, it's men, okay, it's black men, or it's something else. It's people from this socio-economic world view, or it's rich
people,
white man. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like, oh, it's your fault I feel this way, right? But so if you're raised in an unhealthy or an unsafe family system, or you weren't allowed to individuate from your family system, that's what you're left with. You're left with trying to find the reasons. And when someone can find a reason and it's like, oh, that works for me, they will just keep on that trajectory, because that reason becomes part of their identity. But then when you start to question that identity, you're questioning the individual. So it's when someone doesn't want to have a conversation, they're not about what the controversy is. It's because they don't want to have a look at their identity, about what they've created. Right? Because you're looking at a tectonic, you're looking at something foundational in how they've become, how they show up in the world, how they've selected their friends, how they've built their wardrobe, how they've curated their social group. So once you start looking at that, tinkering at that foundational thing, a lot of people don't want to have a look at that, because it means you have to reconstruct your entire worldview, and that's very inconvenient for a lot of people.
So true. Well, and it can also just be like kind of traumatic, right? Like to go and be like, wait a second, everything I thought was real is not. It's I totally. And I've had that experience myself. Like I said, being raised super religious and then not. It's like you believe that this is the ultimate truth, right? And like that this is the way things are, and then you go, wait a second, is that not? Is there a chance that this is wrong? And then you start pulling it apart and all those things. And so I totally get that, and that makes sense. Like I think, the internet is a really interesting place for that, because you say things, right? Oh, in comments, myself included. I'm sure in the past I've said things in comments that I would never say to someone in person.
Totally.
And
Same.
when you come across a piece of information online that is a threat to your identity, it feels like a threat against you that needs to be defended, right? And so you jump in, you go, right, like saying whatever you need to say. And so it's interesting to see that like play out, right? And you can kind of pick apart which comments are someone, just reasonably, having an intellectual exchange with the post, and someone who is like, they couldn't help but comment. Like they couldn't help but say what they just said because it's almost like what you said before about someone being backed into a corner and getting in that carnal primal thing. It's like, that's like what's happening. It's like they couldn't help it. They typed all that and you're like, like that person was not thinking about what they were typing. They were just like the carnal, like, reaction from in the corner,
Yeah, totally, totally. And what I see, like, I'm blessed to have. I'm Gen X. Right? I'm Gen X. I've
Okay.
seen the evolution of newspapers and magazines to bulletin boards and dial-up modems, and then to more the internet, and then broadband, and having all these different forms of communication happen very quickly over a couple of decades, and the conversations are much faster. There's an assumption that you have to step into a
Mm,
conversation with a preconceived notion of all of these other ideological structures. But if you just talk to someone on the street, like or another Gen Xer or a Boomer or somebody else, they don't have no idea about what's going on because they're living a different pace of life, right?
yeah.
Right. So it's like you. So for me, there's the online world, which is its different, an own organism, and then there's the people that I hang out with in person, and they're very
Mm,
different conversations. Like every week we meet up with a group of other people who do homeschooling,
mm,
and we just meet to talk about life, talk about our relationships with money and family and wanting more kids or wanting less kids, and good food and great conversation and learning about like our local indigenous culture. We're going through an immersion
mm,
right now. What's this plant really called? Because the English have given it a name, but what do you call it in your own region?
mm,
So having those kind of conversations expands the bubble, the internet bubble of what's really real, like what's really in front of me right now. Who's the people that are in my circle that would support my family and support my how I want to live, which is I think two very different worlds. If you're
yeah.
Gen Z and just lived on the computer and on your phone, like given a phone when you were 14 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
You're already immersed in ideological frequencies and intelligence that are well beyond your level of understanding when you haven't even got the biology to
Mm,
at 25. That's when your that frontal that your brain is coming online where you can be more of an observer about what you're feeling.
mm,
But if you're given a tool to access more bandwidth than your body can handle, you're going to live in perpetual overwhelm. So when
mm,
somebody comes in and says, "Hey, that's what do you believe that for? Like that's not real. Let's have a look at that." What do you mean? They've built their entire identity structure around it.
mm.
So in-person talking versus online talking are two very different beasts.
Ooh, that's really interesting that you say that. So I was just talking to my wife the other day how I feel like obviously the whole like concept of echo chambers has been talked a lot over the last couple of years. But what's really interesting to me is like the like what you just said about the difference between talking to someone online and talking in person. Part of the reason I started this podcast was because I drove for Uber and Lyft for like more than a decade. And I had conversations with so many people, great conversations, but it's part of what shaped how I view people. Because I realized, there's a lot of people who, even if they're interacting with in person with a lot of other human beings, a lot of times they're doing it in extreme like fringe cases, right? So like when someone's in customer service, it's like you're typically dealing with someone who's pissed off because something didn't go right, right? And so that's what you get exposed to, and you think, man, people suck, dude. Like they're just so mad all the time, blah blah blah. And for me, with if you think about like when you take an Uber, like for the most part, you're either like in a good mood or in just kind of a neutral mood, right? There's a lot of people who are like going back and forth to work, or they're just going to the airport, or going out to to dinner with their friends or something like that, right? And I've always avoided the times where like people like I don't drive like late. I never drove late at night. I always drove just like during the daytime. So it was always these very like kind of neutral times and like neutral situations for people where I got to have these very relaxed and open conversations, and that very much influenced how I view people. Where I was like, wow, okay, like this is so funny. Like I could have a conversation with someone, completely disagree with them, but like it was totally fine. Like, and we just had a great conversation. I was able to understand them, and it added to my perspective on the world because now I understand how that person sees it. And I've described it on this podcast before, but have you ever seen the movie The Dark Knight? The one
I
with
have.
Christian Bale. So you
Yeah.
remember there's that scene where they turn everyone's cell phone into like a sonar thing.
Sonic. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel. Whereas like I've talked to so many people where it's almost as if like I've had these deep conversations where I feel like I can see the world through their eyes. So I have this kind of like sonar throughout the world of these different people's perspectives and how they see things, and that's been really beneficial, at least for me. Now I'm saying all this because what we were talking about earlier about these like echo chambers and the algorithm like continuing to feed you these things where it's like you do not like if you are on the internet a lot, which to be clear, there are definitely times in my life where I spend a lot of time on the internet. Sometimes it's like I have to like I just turned my phone on. I bought this like app that turns your phone into like like I guess overly simplified version of it so you could just like not be distracted because sometimes I feel like it grabs you. But the point is if you spend a lot of time doing that, you get this impression of what the world is like. And there's so many people now who are like, I have social anxiety and I don't like talking to people and blah, blah, blah. I'm not very social. And so they just avoid talking. They don't have to anymore, right? They can order Uber Eats for food. They can order their groceries to be delivered. They could work from home, right? Like they don't, my point is like, you don't have, even here in Arizona, we have Waymos, which is like the ride share that basically just drives itself. So it pulls up and there's nobody in there and people love it. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So the impression that people have of humanity and of the world can be completely shaped by what they're being exposed to online because they're not having these in-person interactions with people and not just at all, right? I'm not saying that it's just like, oh, I, saw a person, a cashier at the store. What I'm saying is like experiencing interactions and conversations with people in different situations, in different circumstances, in different levels of emotion, in different, you understand what I mean? And like when you're not exposed to all of that, the only perspective you have on the world is what you are exposed to. And like what's happening on social media with the way that like you are fed content, especially like on threads, it's like you're just going to think the whole world sucks. Like you're going to think
Yeah.
everything sucks. But if you like go and you actually like have conversations with people, you just exist outside of your house, you realize like, hey, actually everything's pretty good and people are pretty nice.
Totally. Well, I love that you're bringing this up because I see that on Threads, I'm subscribed to like dating threads and relationship threads,
Yeah.
and the echo chambers there is that, oh, dating is hard. Men ghost you.
Yes.
Women are
Yes.
like this, like that. So it keeps reinforcing that echo chamber. Like the dating pool sucks, or the modern dating game's rubbish. And so people that come to work with me have done a lot of work around relationships. But if you're not communicating regularly, if you're expressing yourself regularly, you're kind of handicapped at conversation. You're
Mm.
handicapped at connecting to what you really want. So on a lot
Mm.
of dating apps, you're recommended to create a profile, but your profile is the most perfect version of you. And it's not
Yeah.
until you get like 3, 6, 9 months into a relationship where the true you really starts to be exposed. I mean, you know
Mm.
this. You're married, right? Your relationship
Yeah.
would have had curves of like, oh, well, I don't like how you're doing that. Oh, I love how you're doing that, right? So
Yeah.
in the dating game, if everyone's being conditioned that you have to have like this Twilight style Disney relationship in the beginning,
Mm.
you're not going to have the internal grit to be able to tease apart, well, where are we actually going here?
Mm.
And if you're raised in an insecure or unsafe family system, you're already kind of handicapped at getting a healthy
Mm.
relationship. Like you're already pre engineered for continuous heartbreak because you are heartbroken as a child. You haven't been raised to be
Mm.
who you really are or express what's really there. So you have this this lock and key heartbreak where you find somebody else who's going to keep on reinforcing your heartbreak or reinforcing the part of you that you don't belong or your emotions aren't welcome, or
Mm.
you keep finding someone that you need to save or overgive to find that sense of worthiness because your needs are so unvaluable, they're not valuable. So
Yeah.
what I find on Threads is it's a series of echo chambers of, and this will also cross over with Facebook and Facebook, like Facebook groups. We have like a
Yep.
narcissist recovery Facebook group. It's like everyone's partner's a narcissist, even though it's like 1% to 2% of the population. But it's easier. Right? It's
Yeah.
easier to just label your partner a narcissist or an avoidant or whatever it is, and not have a look at the
Yeah.
underlying architecture that why that person was initially attractive to you, right?
Mm.
So then that's what the family system does. It preloads your internal Google map of
Mm.
the relationships that are available to you. Like if you want a healthier relationship, it's not even on the map for you. You can't even select it. There's no waypoint
Mm.
for you to go to because your
Yeah.
underlying architecture, your love map is uncalibrated to find someone that's going to be a healthy match for you. So you keep on just going around the same route, like looking at the same viewpoints, that all you've got is a selection of either, oh, this is dad's unresolved grief and mum's unresolved grief. Like just bouncing between the two. It's like, oh, it's dad again. Oh, this is mum now. It's dad now, mum
Yeah.
now, right? And it can be so frustrating for someone who knows, like that other whole that's in you. I know there's a connection to something larger, but there's also
Mm.
your person. Like there's a your person out there, and there can be lots of your persons, but there's one that just fits neatly into how you want to create the life that you want to create.
Mm.
Right? And until you have a look at that underlying architecture, you can be back-to-backing in therapy, you can be back-to-backing in ayahuasca or psilocybin or doing family systems work or internal family systems. But until you have a look at the underlying somatic, like body architecture, about what's driving your personality, not just your relationship choices, you'll keep on being dragged into those echo chambers of life. And you can find them in person too. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of conscious communities where you can find the same bubbles of people that
Yeah.
struggle in relating, or they're just looking for like just for a good time. They're not here for a long-term relationship. They're just here for, they want the exposure to the intimacy, but without the responsibility of intimacy, right? And they're two different ways of looking at relationships.
Yeah. Man, it's so interesting. So, John, I feel like you and I could talk forever. I feel like even some of the stuff you were saying just now, I was like, oh no, I want to talk about that. But I feel like we could talk forever. I'll have to have you on again. But I really, really appreciate you coming on. For anyone who is listening that wants to connect with you, that wants to work with you, any of that, please share what you'd like to share.
Yeah, look, find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever. Just look up John Kai Wallis and just start the journey there. Like, get to know me. Like, I could say a bunch of offerings that I have, but just get to know me, because I might not be your flavor of person or mentor, but if I've spoken to something that resonates with you, then maybe I have something for you that'll fill that little missing piece that you haven't been able to find somewhere else. So yeah, that's what I recommend.
I love it, man. I'll be sure also to link to your stuff so that people can easily find you. But yeah, man, no, this is a great conversation. I really, really appreciate you making the time for it. And I know it's tomorrow where you are at the very beginning of tomorrow. So yeah, man, I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Giuliano. I appreciate your questions and your presence and your connection to humanity. You've got something here, which I think is so infectious, that even on this podcast, is reaching out to people and talking to people. Like it opens the heart. It bridges the gap between the distance of the screens. So keep it up, man. This is mwah, mwah, chef's kiss. Keep going.
All right. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.